We are back with another episode of The Next Rep. I, as always, am your host, Corey, joined by my co-host, Reagan. Say hello to the people, Reagan.
Hello, people.
Very good. You nailed it. But we are here today with a little bit of a different style of episode. We don't often talk too much. We certainly don't talk about software too much on the show. We don't often go too deep into Wodify. We're always trying to kind of learn from our guests and speak to a wide variety of voices from the industry. But today we are going to talk about Wodify a little bit because we recently completed an initiative called Be Customer Obsessed Day. It was the first of its kind in Wodify's history, although we'll talk about how, this concept is sort of born into our DNA as a company for a very long time, the idea of being customer obsessed. But in essence, what this was a day where we shut the company down. Whether you were a salesperson, a customer service person, or an engineer, we went and visited our customers in person. So want to go deeper into that, and I'm joined to do so by two folks from our team. Introduce Nicole Vogelsong. She's our chief of staff, someone who I've heard our founder described as the -1 employee, I believe, of Wodify.
Right.
So
Yep.
Nicole, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
And we are also joined by none other than the CEO of Wodify, Mr. Brendan Rice. Brendan, thanks so much for making the time.
Yeah, excited. Thanks, Corey.
All right, very good. You guys like my jazz host voice?
Yeah.
None other than Brendan Rice.
Quite a voice for it.
So, guys, here we are. We're here to talk about Be Customer Obsessed Day. And, Nicole, I know you just completed a little bit of a writing project, a blog post about the day. So I'll kick it over to you initially. But high-level overview, as I mentioned, we shut the company down for a day, and we visited as many customers as we possibly can as a remote team with people placed all over the country. So first off, is the final total in? How many gyms did we get to visit on Be Customer Obsessed Day?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. We were able to get out to 85 different gyms on Be Customer Obsessed Day. So pretty amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know you had a lot to do with the planning of this day, but you've also been with Wodify quite literally longer than anybody else. So, the idea of being customer obsessed, I know this might have been the first time we did this specific day, but in many ways, it was kind of a hearkening back to the origins of Wodify. So can you talk a little bit about, what this day was like and sort of how it was reminiscent of those early years?
Yeah, it's so much like the early days. So when Wodify was founded, it was founded by Amit Shah, and he was all about just getting out in the field and seeing the technology in action. So when we started Wodify, we had built like just a high-level prototype of, performance tracking for gyms. And so we actually started by going to his gym and implementing it there. So he was at CrossFit Aspire. He went there and, input all of the athletes' performance history so that there was data in the system. And he was there on the gym floor watching it in action. And one of the things that he talked about to this day is how he got to see, an athlete who put in their performance for the day. It lit up with a green PR ribbon, and that person was so excited to see how they improved their lift that day. And that was kind of like the basis behind Wodify, and what gets us excited to build software is like being out in the gym, seeing the athletes logging their performance. And so Be Customer Obsessed Day was very much like getting back to our roots, getting out from behind a computer, going to see the different fitness founders that we serve and watching it in action. Just like, let us see your day. How can we make our software better for you so you have the best experience? So it was going back to the basics, really.
Love that. And Brendan, I'm curious, when you guys were coming together with this plan, with this idea, why was now the right time to kind of go back to those roots and have a dedicated day where we all were going to be in the field as a company? Why was now the best time for that?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. The best time probably would have been a year or two ago. I think we just finally picked our heads up at the beginning of the year when we had just planned out the roadmap and our company strategy, and a lot of our strategies baked into our purpose and core values. We went through a rebrand project last year that really helped crystallize that. Like, we want to be the #1 tech partner that fitness founders trust to fuel their passion. And that, I think, was the catalyst, like why for us we did it now, was we have this clarity on our vision and our core values. And what I realized was having a vision of being the #1 tech partner for fitness founders to fuel their passion means you have to understand what it means to be a fitness founder and what we mean by passion. And the only way to do that is to get out in the real world and meet people and experience their business firsthand. So I think that the rebrand and kind of repositioning of our why as a company was the main reason why we decided to do it now.
I love that. And you referenced core values. Wodify has a handful of core values, but As a CEO and the person kind of, setting the agenda for the company and kind of thinking about that vision a lot, how do you feel like it's different? Because like if I was doing an annual planning session for myself individually, I could highlight my core values, and it's easy for me to know if I personally am living up to my core values. It's a lot harder to ensure that a whole company of 90 people are aligning with those values. Are check-in days like this kind of a way where we can make sure that those core values are actually being put into practice at scale rather than at an individual level?
Yeah, I think so. I think that core values, I've been at companies and even at points in Wodify's past where you have to struggle to remember the names of the core values is a good sign that like something isn't connecting to the day-to-day execution and actual operationalization of those core values. And so this day was about us living the values as a company through the actual initiatives and work we're doing. So be customer obsessed day, like the values be customer obsessed. And I think when you hear that, any company could have that value, right? And that doesn't really mean anything. Just because we have that value doesn't mean anything. And what makes it mean something is that it's a lot more than just customer service. And we do things like this initiative, which was one of the biggest ones we've done, of getting everyone out into the field and expressing this value in our unique way, which for us meant you take a class or a service, you actually experience the product that they're delivering. And the second piece of it is connecting and building a relationship with the owner, founder, manager that is the primary user of Wodify over coffee or a meal, and just like hear about their business and hear about their passion.
Love that. And Nicole, when you were planning it, obviously there's a certain amount of risk to doing something like this, right? Like we're taking everybody away from their day-to-day. We're probably going to take a little bit of a productivity hit temporarily. There just isn't a way for us to do our daily work and to also be out on the road doing this. What were the results you were hoping to see? Like what's a learn or a realization we had from this that made that worth it? Like what were we hoping to get from it that would be that powerful to say, we care so deeply about this that let's quite literally shut down our company for a day and do this?
Yeah, so I think some people had never even set foot in a CrossFit gym or a martial arts studio. And so part of it was just like getting them closer to the people we serve every single day. And just there's nothing that can replace getting that experience firsthand. And then being able to take that and apply it to the job that you do every day. So when you're building a feature, not only are you now like just building what you think should be built, you're thinking about that person that you went to see. You're remembering that experience you had in that class, and you're applying that to the work that you do. On the customer success side, you're remembering and having that empathy with the coach who's trying to run a class, trying to sign someone up for a new membership, and they're trying to do all these things and maybe they run into an issue. And so when they're serving that customer a support ticket, they're definitely thinking about that when they're doing it. And that is irreplaceable. And so like that was one of the key values that we were really hoping to get, was being able to have that real world experience that they could then bring back to the job that they do every single day.
I love that. We had a bit of a phrase we've used internally a couple of times where we use the phrase software island. Because software is hard, right? Like it's tech. It's not we're not selling you we are selling you a group of people, but the reality is if you're not careful, software can become very impersonal, right? It can become very techy. In Software Island's kind of this idea of like you're just sort of on this island where there's a lot of technology, not a lot of in-person sort of human touch to things. I don't know if there could be something you can do to get off of Software Island more practically than quite literally be standing next.
We took a cruise from Software Island to the mainland fitness, and everyone got off.
Yeah, quite literally standing next to customers. So I think that even though that phrase wasn't made with Be Customer Obsessed Day in mind, I think it very, very much applies. That's kind of us, to Brendan's point. We took the cruise ship right off of Software Island and headed towards the mainland, I suppose. Brendan, back to you. I'm curious, when you were doing your gym visits as part of this initiative, what was the biggest surprising realization or moment that you had? Did anything really surprise you in what you were able to?
Yeah, a lot did. I was reflecting on it afterwards because everyone went in groups of 2 or 3, and we're still remote. So you're with your group, but we had a Slack channel where everyone was sharing about their visits and posting pictures and videos. And that helped me just see the scale and everything that was happening. And I've visited a bunch of customers in the past without a formal initiative in place, just because if I'm traveling for a conference or I happen to be meeting a customer, I'll drop in. And so before this initiative, I had this just confidence in, without being able to put my finger on it, of like, I know this is going to be valuable because I've experienced it firsthand. And what surprised me was how valuable it actually was, and how it didn't just impact our employees. It impacted the gym owners. I was very, in a good way, surprised by how meaningful it was for our customers that we showed up to their business. And I think I was surprised at how the variety of ideas and insights that came out of it. You're obviously going to get product ideas and maybe like any technical issues or challenges people are having. Like that I knew was going to happen. We're going to walk in and be like, oh, that's a good feature idea that we hadn't thought of. That's a bug that we haven't identified yet, or something we need to help you technically troubleshoot. Those two things I think were given. What surprised me was the gratitude and openness of our customers inviting us into their business was incredible. Like, we felt so welcomed. People had such good experiences. One of our engineers who had never done CrossFit before signed up for a membership at the gym that he dropped into because of how good his experience was. And also the ideas from the team that weren't product related. There were service ideas. They were just kind of like, industry insights into, like, you visit 3 or 4 different gyms in a day. You just get really interesting exposure to different business models. So the surprising thing to me was, to summarize it, just how much you can learn from just one day of like doing something different than what you do every other day, which is build software, be on Zoom calls, something like that.
Yeah, and I think the educational piece is really what stood out to me personally. Like, for folks who don't know, who've never worked in technology, this would have been surprising to me from the outside looking in. But a big part of what we do is educating our customers on what the platform is capable of. That's something I never would have imagined. I just assumed people buy this thing, they know exactly what it does, and it's great, and everybody's happy. But, we quite literally on the back end will track adoption scores. How much of the product are these customers utilizing? So that was something that I learned a lot personally, just being at the gyms that I visited, is we were able to just actually educate them as to all these different things the product is capable of. But it's hard to really teach that to someone unless you are shoulder to shoulder. Otherwise they'd have to be really proactive. They'd have to schedule a Zoom call with support. We'd have to teach them there, and they can certainly go that route. But man, it's really nice just to be standing next to them while you're able to illustrate these features. So I'm curious, Nicole, if you, number one, I'm sure you've had to do quite a lot of that through your years here, but was that a takeaway that you had as well? Is like, this is really best done in person in terms of the customer education piece?
Yeah, I think it's just, when you think about it, it takes a little bit for them to want to like go submit a ticket to learn something. Like, it's like a little bit of a pain point, and they're like, I'm fine, I don't really need to ask about it. But like, a perfect example is, we were visiting Iron Jungle CrossFit, and recently we had some snow in the area. And so one of the coaches ended up running late for class. And they're like, it'd be really great if we could have messaged the entire class and just let them know that the coach is running late so they're not standing outside, right? And it was like such a perfect moment to just come in there and say, oh, actually, we have this feature. You can do it right from the coach's app, and you can in-app chat that entire class and let them know that the coach is running late, so they're not standing outside the door freezing on a snow day or something like that. So it was an immediate way. Within 2 minutes, we were able to show them exactly how to do it. The aha moment clicked there, and they're like, oh my God, we're definitely going to use this. And then they're able to teach the coaches how to do that as well. So that was like just one perfect example of exactly what you're talking about. It's like priceless to just sit there and work with them shoulder to shoulder.
And Brett, I asked you what was most surprising, but kicking it back to you, was there a moment of pride that you had where you're just like, man, I remember this was maybe something we didn't used to be able to do? Or, there was a win a customer had that you couldn't even have imagined, that they were just like, oh, wow, they're doing this, or they had this benefit from the following features. Anything stand out there as like, I didn't even think this was going to be a win, but it was, and, maybe surprising in a positive direction, not so much in a bad direction?
I mean, our products come a long way. So 5 or 6 years ago, for customers that have been with us for a while, we were going through our own growing pains, and I would probably have been nervous to walk into a gym that uses Wodify because we had technical issues and scale issues, and we didn't have all the features we needed. So the first kind of thing that comes to mind is the pride of being able to walk into 3 different businesses, a brand new CrossFit gym, a CrossFit gym that's been around since like 2012, and a Muay Thai gym that has a competitive fight team, that all use Wodify and all had positive things to say and just loved using our product to run their business. So like the pride in general comes less from our features and more from like those stories of like those people get to run amazing businesses they're so passionate about, and we're just one small piece that helps them actually run that business. I think that was the biggest source of pride for me. The other thing though, just in terms of like how far our products come, is we talk to coaches, owners, and clients, and having a feature set that spans all three of those. Like we would take the class and some of the clients would just come up to us afterwards, showing us their app and showing us how they log stuff in. So it's really cool to just know how many different people in the gym we actually serve and we build software for, and seeing, you know, our software in the hands of all the athletes and all the coaches and the owners in the back office also having it up was really fun.
One thing that really stood out to me when you were presenting to the company and kind of reflecting on the initiative, Brendan, was I think you mentioned somebody on the team saying they felt more connected to their work now, having gone to these businesses. And I think, you know, for some of us who are heavily in the fitness industry already, we know that these gyms and these people are wearing a million hats. They're working so hard. They've put a lot of personal things on hold or at stake in order to start these businesses. They're creating these incredible communities. And so you can say these words and really know the impact behind them. But if you've never really seen that, you've never seen the owner of a business, you know, like getting there at 4:30 in the morning to like mop the gym floors before the class or clean the toilets, like you don't know really how hard these individuals are working to build this and how much they deeply care about every person in their business. So I'd love to know, you know, you guys got to hear more about how the team felt and the impact it had on them going to these businesses. I'd love to know any stories you guys have.
Yeah, I mean, that was another big reason I was passionate about doing this, because I've seen both sides of it. I've seen what you're saying around how hard our customers work and how passionate they are and the sacrifices they make. And I also know how that's true for everyone on our team. Mm-hmm. To have engineering is a good example, because that's maybe the furthest removed, or can be the furthest removed from our customers. To have engineers who wake up every day and open their computer and work really hard and have to solve really complicated problems just to build software for our customers, and maybe they wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning because we had an issue or we did a release and they have to be up for that. Like, they are putting in the hard work, and I just knew if you can connect them to the people they're doing the work for, there's even more meaning. Like, they already care, they're already working really hard. Both people are, and I think that's where the feedback came from both sides of like the appreciation and the gratitude from our customers of us showing up, and from our team of being able to show up and get to know them. Nothing can replace a 30-minute coffee with the founder of a gym, hearing their story. And for me, who's done it a lot before, it was still impactful. Like, I sat down with the owners of CrossFit Crusade and they told me their journey of signing a lease the day they found out they were pregnant, going all in on the gym together, the sweat equity they poured into coaching every single class, to like doing their best to grow by, you know, X number of members every month. So all of, like, when you combine two groups that are working really hard to like help each other, and you actually give them a chance to meet in person, I think it adds a ton of meaning. So the stories I heard were just like, it took a lot of convincing, a lot more than I expected. Not convincing, but there was a lot of internal hesitation, or at least maybe nervousness around it, because it might have been something completely new or different that people are used to doing out of their comfort zone. And I heard that feedback for sure leading up to it. And the only feedback I heard after it was, that was awesome. I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I got to experience CrossFit. I'm so glad I got to meet these customers. That was so interesting. I didn't know how much went into owning and operating a gym. So that was I think really impactful.
Yeah, and even further, it was like, can we do this again? So this Be Customer Obsessed Day was an idea that we were able to like roll out this year. And a lot of the feedback that I got is like, are we going to bring this back next year? I loved it, that kind of impact. So I loved hearing that from the team as well, because, you know, it's just getting back to that core value and being really invested in being customer obsessed. So,
and Nicole, I'm curious, is there something you guys will be measuring, or a metric you're looking to? Like obviously the stories we heard from the gym owners we were able to visit, and the staff members who were able to visit them, is a metric in and of itself. But beyond that, like in the next 3, 6, 9 months, is there anything you guys are going to be looking like? Is there a metric we can look at to know like, ooh, this really did have the impact that we're hoping that did?
Yeah, I think like the most immediate thing was that we had like over 80 plus pieces of feedback that we got from customers. So part of it is just like we assign that out to all the different departments, and being able to address that feedback, make improvements to the product was like one piece that we're going to measure. We're going to make sure that all of that feedback gets addressed. We're following up with the customers we spoke with. We're fixing the features that we got feedback on. So that's one piece we're going to measure from the day, is just actioning that feedback. I think the second piece of it is really just thinking about
It's all good. We edit it.
edit it out. Yep, lost it.
But you had mentioned too, Nicole, like, was this, it was very successful and everybody had a great time. Was this always a plan to do it annually? Or was it something they realized, like, let's do this once, see how it goes, and then adjust from there? Or was it something like, man, we really do want to build this into the calendar. Like, we would like for this to be an annual Wodify event where we, one day a year where we put this value into practice. And I guess, was that the plan originally, or did it change based on the success of it?
Yeah, I think we wanted to test it out this year. Like we started doing that type of thing when we first launched the company, and we wanted to just try to get back to that. And so this was kind of like our trial period. How could we do this at scale in a remote organization, which I think is something that's shifted over time. And we wanted to pilot it with this first day. And the hope was obviously to do more of this on a regular basis. So we want to do this, be customer obsessed day. The other thing we want to do is just activations in certain areas. So like if there's a lot of gym owners in a certain area, getting our team out there more often, whether they're in sales, account management, whatever, like encouraging the behavior on an ongoing basis, but maybe having this annual event to bring it all together and unite the entire company. So it's exciting to hear people were excited about it and to roll it out in the future as well.
Awesome. And Brendan, I wanted to ask you this, and I hope I could come up with the proper words for it, but you would kind of mention, like, nothing replaces the experience of hearing that story directly from a gym owner. And, we do a lot of, work to assess the state of the industry and think about what gym owners want and kind of have like almost like a brand story. But this gave us the opportunity to compare that to the daily reality inside a gym. And how did that measure up? Do you feel like the overall brand story aligned with that reality? Was this an opportunity to take some learns and some feedback away from that? And how did you think it measured up in terms of what we thought was going on versus what truly is?
I think our brand is by design aspirational. Like, we aspire to be the number one tech partner for fitness founders. And that isn't number one on a third-party ranking system where we're like, oh, we did it, check, we're number one. Mm-hmm. That's like much more intrinsic, and there's no finish line to that. And what was validating was we're doing some things really well, but we're definitely we have the right vision, and there's it's a never-ending kind of journey to partner with these people, and everyone is on a different part of that entrepreneurial journey where Wodify could help them in different ways. So going back to my experiences, the gym that just opened 2 years ago is trying to train and develop their staff and grow their revenue and really just like create this sustainable, viable business. And we help them I won't list off our features, but we help them in a certain way. And then we have a gym that has been around for 14 years, and maybe they're thinking about opening a second location or scaling their brand to have more product offerings within their gym, and like we help them in a completely different way too. So for me, it was this validation of we're on a never-ending journey, and it's a really important mission. I think we're privileged to be able to have that vision. Like, there's a lot of software companies that are really valuable, and what they do is optimize Google ad spend, or say, like, there are just certain things where like it's a completely fine business model, and I'm not trying to take away from them, but they're not in a position that we are, which is like life-changing technology to people who are really creating impactful, meaningful businesses in their communities. So I think it's something that motivates everyone at Wodify and is just a cool mission to be able to have. And this day, visiting these people helped just solidify that and bring some of the real examples we're talking about, real stories to educate everyone and just kind of re-illustrate. And we use these examples almost as like internal markers of our success. So like, I plan on following up with the gyms I visited in 6 months or in a year and just like seeing how we're doing on some of the things, even though it's one out of thousands of gyms that Wodify works with. Our customers are just like, it's really good to have these representative kind of stories or examples that you can follow along with.
Yeah, and I think just to build on that, another piece is like measuring the success of the day is a lot of the feedback that we got was around additional features that people wanted to see in the product. One of the themes was individualized programming. Like as the industry evolves, more and more people are offering individualized programming and wanting Wodify to bring that all in one inside of Wodify. So one of the ways that we'll measure the success of our day is being able to follow up with these gym owners and tell them, hey, individualized programming is going live at the end of this year. Check it out. We're going to be able to use it with them shoulder to shoulder, get their feedback, know if it's working. So it's another way we're going to measure the success of the day, is being able to answer their request with delivering an actual feature.
I think too, it's probably related to this, but Brendan, we're talking about like hearing the stories, and one of the things we've started to talk about from a brand perspective is like the founder's story, someone who who founds a fitness business. And the one word that really stuck out to me is sacrifice. Like it's a tremendous sacrifice in many ways. I think a lot of gym owners are making, because even from a small scale perspective, I was a trainer / coach for many years. And in many ways, I sacrificed my own results, training, frankly, enjoyment of fitness in order to give that gift to others. And our gym owners are doing that at scale. Like these are often people who have 1,001 things to do. The gym is really asking everything of them, and very rarely do they get time to themselves. And then that's where Wodify fits in, is like, we're trying to give them a little bit of that time in the day back to them. So that was the biggest thing that kind of struck me, is just like the level of sacrifice your average gym owner is making. Because in many ways, this is something that they loved, and they made the decision to gift it to other people rather than kind of just selfishly pursue it for themselves. I didn't have that strength. I chose to selfishly pursue it for myself. But it's great to work with people who did make that sacrifice. And I guess that kind of just struck me when you're able to see it in person.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a great point. I think the what I would call out is, when we talk about that, sometimes the stories are sacrifice in terms of hours worked or vacations given up or time and energy put in, which are for sure a lot of the sacrifices that people have to make. But the other side of it is, there are very successful gym owners who have flexible schedules, take vacation, and are financially successful that are making sacrifices too, which is everyone has a life to choose what they do with. And like, these people could have probably created or created many different types of businesses or worked for big companies, and like, they chose to dedicate their career to building a fitness business that helps other people get healthier, live longer lives, build community. So I don't want the sacrifice to just be associated with what might be like the early stages of struggle and like overcoming that, but also the sacrifice of like, you chose to build a business that helps other people. And if you're really successful with that, that's even better. Like creating a life where you can do whatever you want and still help those people, like those are awesome stories too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's there's so many great, like I always call them like the sleep on the floor stories you hear from founders, where it's just like, there's always that moment where they're like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to make rent in my third month in. I had slept on the couch in the coach's office. That's what really hits home. And then like, when you get that customer support ticket that seems a little bit extra urgent, you know why now, because that's the context. Like, that's what they were able to sacrifice to make this thing happen. So, when something's not working, it's understandable why it comes to that level of urgency. It's nothing personal. It's just knowing how much sweat equity and just time and effort they've poured into it. So I think that really hit home too. I think it really helps to meet customers where they're at, when you get to see actually where they're at in the business. And obviously, there's owners out there who stuck with it and have scaled and have way more complicated systems. But I think that's the nice thing, is during this day, we got to see a variety of businesses. We got to see ones that were early stage, still figuring out those initial steps. We also got to see some who have been incredibly successful, have stood the test of time, and have successfully scaled. So it was really great to see the gamut of customers, who are able to benefit from the product. Cool.
I think
wrap
too,
up,
we have such...
Yeah, go ahead, Reagan.
One more. I think we have such an efficient team, just being on the inside, that I think it's something that our team gets really excited about, which is helping these people do more with little time. Like, that's what we do a lot here. We're a small and mighty team. We, develop features fast. We serve a lot of customers, and we have that similar like entrepreneurial mindset of like, how can I make this as efficient as possible? And so that's one of the things I love seeing at events, and when other people on the team get to interact with our customers, is when the customer does come and say, I have this problem or this thing I'm doing and it just feels slow, or I feel like it could be better. Our team just gets so excited to show them how it could be better. And I think when, like Nicole, you said it earlier, the customer has a specific example and a problem that they are trying to solve, and that team member gets to help them address that specific example, just like such a perfect moment. And even if we're not in person, one of the businesses I visited on this day was somebody that our customer success team recommended I go and visit because they work with them a lot on email, on chat, and they knew that they would really benefit from the visit. We would interact well. So like our team is so good at building these virtual relationships and supporting our customers, and then getting to go do it in person too is just so special.
Yeah, I had a moment too where when I first came into the company 5 years ago, it's wow, time flies. You know, we were really heavily in functional fitness and in CrossFit, and at that time, we were just journeying into the realm of martial arts and servicing a new vertical. And there was kind of this like unspoken thing where it's like, is this going to work? Like, are we going to be able to help these businesses in the same way that we know that we can help functional fitness? And one of my visits was a very successful multi-location jiu-jitsu gym who is utilizing Wodify exactly as they should be. It unambiguously works. Like, it is designed to operate a jiu-jitsu gym that has all the features you would need to run a jiu-jitsu gym, and it's just very clearly a solution. And that was kind of a small win for me, because I remember when that was just a hope and a dream and a wish, frankly, where, you know, we could walk into a jiu-jitsu gym and offer them the same value that we could a functional fitness gym. And, you know, here we are at one of the largest locations in Texas, and they're loving Wodify, and they're able to use a ton of features. And frankly, you know, we were able to coach them on some things they weren't using, but probably should be, and get even more value from it. So that was just really like a nice aha moment in my takeaway from the day, which was, you know, we're here. What was once a dream to just service these other types of businesses is now here. And not only is it just doable, they're thriving with it. So that was a really nice moment. All right, guys. Well, I have a final question for each of you, Nicole and Brendan. So who would like to go first?
I'll take a stab. I'll go first.
All right. Let's
Nicole,
do it.
do the honors.
So as a closing reflection, Nicole, I want to ask you, and Reagan, you're not out. I'm going to make you do it too. I'm not going to, I'll make you do it. In one sentence, what does being customer obsessed actually mean?
Going above and beyond for our customers and really staying close to the industry and the businesses we serve.
Okay, very good.
Was it a run-on, Corey? Was that a run-on sentence?
It was a paused moment of thought.
Yeah, that was a pause. That was like and.
Well, so it was a what is chat? It was an M dash. It was an M dash.
Yeah,
there you go. Brendan, same to you. In one sentence, what does customer obsessed actually mean to you?
Nicole had a good one. I think it means really knowing who you serve and how those people rely on your product, period.
Very good. No M dash. Reagan, I'll
You
go
have to
too.
do
I'm
it
not
too,
going to.
Corey. Yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah. I also have a great answer for this, so I'm kind of setting myself up for a win here. But anyways, go ahead, Reagan.
Mine's gonna be simple, just caring about other people's problems like they're your own, taking ownership of them, and that's it.
Yep.
Caring about their problems like they're your own. That's it. Boom.
That's a good one. I want that one, actually.
I remember many years ago, you know, going back to what I was saying about the gym owners and sacrifice, I used to think I wanted to be a strength coach and open my own gym. This is like what I thought I wanted to do with my life. And there was a guy by the name of Joe DeFranco, who is a legendary strength coach out of North Jersey, trained NFL players, college football players. He's still in the space, has a great audience. I've met him. Awesome dude. But he was doing like a Q&A, YouTube video, podcast, blog post, something. And the question he got was, how do I know if I'm supposed to be a coach? And he said, you have to genuinely care about the results of your customers more than you care about your own results. I think that's kind of what you're alluding to, Reagan. And I think that's sort of like the bar that our customers had to pass. So I think we also owe it to them to pass it from where we're approaching things. But that's not my answer.
I was going to
My
say,
answer.
in true Corey fashion, his answer was much more than a sentence.
My answer in one sentence is being customer obsessed means you're able to meet customers where they're at because you've actually stood where they are and you've actually experienced where they're at. You know where they're at. I did it. I did the M dash.
That was
Hard.
That's a good one. I like that. It brings it back in a literal way to what we just did. It's cool.
Very good. Well, Brendan, Nicole, Reagan, Thank you all for being here today. Nicole, you have done a write-up on Be Customer Obsessed Day too, so we'll link that below. Just kind of tell folks what that's. So just kind of like a written description, what happened, some highlights of the day, etc.
Yeah, so it's a recap of Be Customer Obsessed Day, what it's all about, some of the things we learned from Be Customer Obsessed Day, so you can see some of the specific examples we encountered throughout the day. And then what I also included is how you can steal the idea of Be Customer Obsessed and apply it to your own business. So there's some tips, 3 ways that you could apply Be Customer Obsessed to your own business. So you should definitely read it.
Awesome.
Ooh, I love that.
We'll link that below in the description so everyone can check it out. And for all the gym owners that we were able to visit on Be Customer Obsessed Day, thank you so much for having us. Our whole team had a wonderful time. I mean, if you guys could see the internal Slack channels filled with videos and photos and group shots and selfies of everybody from the day, it really was a blast. And for gyms that we weren't able to get to this year, we hope to visit you at a future instance of Be Customer Obsessed Days. Thank you guys for being here today, and we'll catch you next time on The Next Rep.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.